Another thing we can do, kind of thinking of a bigger scale, is kind of reducing that amount of pervious surface that we have and really addressing this idea of runoff. Not only runoff of chemical pollutants and big pollutants, but runoff of warm water. Runoff in general where you're not contributing to flooding or high water flows that lead to erosion. So one way we can do this is instead of installing impervious surface, we install pervious surface. Pervious surface is it lets things through. So for example, at this person's home, I really don't know if this is a sidewalk or a kind of driveway, but this other part of their driveway is pervious. There's some concrete in here because you do need a hard surface to park your car, otherwise your car is just going to sink into the ground. But there's a whole bunch of holes in it that's allowing grass to come through. That's also exposing the dirt so that when it rains, yes, it'll wash off this little block right here and right here and right here, but it'll wash off into the grass, into the dirt right next to it. So although there is still impervious to it, it is allowing some of that water to go through, and thereby it's not running off as much into our local water body. This video that's popping up here shortly is looking at a different type of impervious surface. The surface looks just like asphalt, but it actually lets water through. And so this guy is kind of comparing what asphalt is and this pervious surface. So go ahead and pause here and watch this video and then come back and we'll talk about it. So it should be popping up right now. Right, so pretty cool, at least I think it is, especially because it looks just like a regular road, but it allows water to go through it. Now, although this seems awesome, and I guess it is awesome, it's expensive. And also, if you already have something, you don't want to just pull it out. So let's say this sidewalk, the government is like, well, let's use this asphalt that water gets to go through. What that means is the government is then paying to remove this. You now have this wasted, rock that needs to go somewhere, and then we're using new resources to put something new down. So we can't just say, let's replace all our surfaces with pervious surface. That's not economical, and it's actually really not that environmental either. Now, as we build new things, or as we replace things, definitely we should be keeping this in consideration. Now let's say you're like, you know what, we don't have the funds to do a whole new parking lot. What we could do instead is a rain garden. And you'll see this in a lot of parking lots at different, whether it's a big store like Lowe's or a small little office park. We even see this on school campuses where you have this nice greenery. And it's not Lowe's showing off their vast plant collection. This is actually a mini ecosystem where all of their rainwater goes. So all of this water from the parking lots, these parking lots probably have a low spot where all the water goes. And that low spot is this rain garden. So not only does rain go here, but the rain that landed on the parking lot then flows into it. This has lots of soil. There's lots of plant roots in there, so the plant roots can take in that water. And then there's an overflow drain. Let's say there's so much water that even the plants and the soil can't take it, then it will go through a stormwater drain. But it at least had a chance to be soaked in and used by the environment first before it enters the ecosystem unfiltered. And then finally, kind of on a similar system, are retention ponds. Most of the artificial ponds in Maryland are retention ponds. They were built by that neighborhood because they are trying to control the runoff that is coming off of the parking lots and of those apartment buildings or housing buildings or driveways or sidewalks or etc. Most of that water is actually going to leak into that retention pond. At the Germantown campus at Montgomery College, we have a couple of these as well. You usually see 1 to 2 pipes where water is coming in, and then you see this outfall where if water gets high enough, it will drain into the stormwater system, but at least we have an opportunity for the environment to break down any pollutants in there, to catch any kind of big pieces of trash. So it's just giving the environment a chance to kind of process that water instead of flooding that ecosystem literally all at once. And this also helps with our infrastructure because that's less flooding on our streets as well. The last thing we can do, the last two big things, is one, raising awareness, especially with our storm drains. Not a lot of people know that our storm drains drain directly into a water body, untreated. And so they kind of treat storm drains like trash cans. So if we're at least labeling these storm drains, people know, hey, you know what, that's not a trash can. That doesn't go to a treatment plant. That just goes into the water. Maybe they care. They still might not, but we're hoping that it's at least reaching some people, and that people are recognizing, oh, I love going to the Chesapeake Bay, and if I put trash in here that's actually going to go directly to the place I love, I don't want to do that. So at least that's our hope, is that by raising awareness, that people kind of think twice about doing something. And then finally, what you can do, whether it's at the beach or in your neighborhood or along the interstate, is just cleaning up trash. You know, it sounds so insignificant, but if you don't clean up that trash, next big rainstorm we get, that trash goes into your local river. That goes into another river, that goes into the Chesapeake Bay, that goes into our oceans, and affects wildlife. So pick it up. And I know it can be kind of lame, like if you're walking around, you're like, oh, there's trash on the ground, I'm not going to pick it up. Pick it up. I personally, I'm trying to get myself into the habit of doing that. And yeah, it feels kind of gross and stuff to do it at first, but just remind yourself, hey, if I don't do this, that could be a turtle that dies because it ate it. Or that could be, a sea otter that chokes because that piece of plastic, they thought it was an oyster and it wasn't. So when you see trash, pick it up. Because if you don't, it's going to eventually end up into a water body. So again, the number one solution to water pollution is you and me. This really is a problem where we're kind of the ones most responsible for it. We can't really point our fingers to anyone. But there's tons of ways that we can reduce the amount of impervious surface we have, the amount of nutrients we're releasing, ways we can raise awareness to other people. So there's definitely hope, and small changes you make tomorrow actually do make a big difference down the road, especially if you're sharing this with other people. The more people you tell, the more people you share it with, the greater impact it has. So we got to do our part. We all have to. If we really want to address this issue, especially with our freshwater resources, something that you and I depend on every moment of every day.